any other questions that you have, Rashan, as you're in the beginning of this process?
Um, so when you start researching the scholarships, are they scholarships that are just particular to that particular school? Where do you like find the scholarships, or is it I guess the applications for, certain scholarships?
So in the IADW process, after we gather information about the student, we use the information about the student as a conduit for
Okay.
searching for scholarships. For example, once we get into the assessing the student, we talk about, the student's major. What is the person passionate about? And then using that as an opportunity to identify the universities and colleges that are a best fit for that particular major or
Right.
passion. And then once
Okay.
that's identified, and whether or not you want to use the vision board for that or just before doing the vision board, make the vision board the short list. Like, these are the places that I know I want to go. As you do the research on on colleges and universities, you then start looking in the departments of those colleges and universities and finding out what financial opportunities are available, scholarships, financial aid at that institution, because finding out if a university is rich in financial aid and resources is really key. It's one thing to identify the university, but it's really critical. It's one step in our own personal journey that was a misstep for me. I did not find out if the universities that my children looked at were highly resourced universities, and in
Mm.
particular for the
For their
major.
major, because it's major driven.
It is major driven,
It's major
and
driven. Okay.
Yeah,
correct.
it's huge. Question, just like for FAMU, you all are mostly known for what major?
Pharmacy and School
Pharmacy.
of Business and Journalism. I'm
Okay.
School of Business and Industry. Yeah, SBI.
Yeah,
And so obviously going to A&T, we're primarily an engineering school first.
Right.
So
and
where do
then
you think all the money went
wait a minute,
first?
wait a minute,
Engineering.
and at Howard University.
Okay. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Howard. I'm
I mean, I wasn't given the memo about wearing my Howard
Sean looked at you,
University
said, "Excuse
University
me, who?"
information today, but let's be clear. Communications, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
That's just
Thank you.
I love
School of
it.
C.
I love it.
School of Sea. But the
That was
reason why
awesome.
I'm bringing that up, Rashawn, is a lot of times we want our children to go to certain schools. My son went to A&T. Most of the money goes to engineering, though.
yeah.
The business school is secondary, so we did not have that same pool of money available to us as the kids who were in the engineering school. I wasn't even thinking about that
Correct.
because it really does matter. Now, if he would have studied something like biology or history, he would have been in trouble. I don't know how he would have gotten money because
Right.
that's not where the money is going primarily.
I get it.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And you think you know all this stuff, but I'm like, you, wow.
Rashawn, all we had to do was fill out the application and our
That's it.
parents dropped us off.
Right. That's what they
Nobody
felt like.
asked us if we, had a cure for cancer. Yeah. I mean, yeah, some of the essays, I'm like, are you kidding? Servant leadership.
Right. What does that
Whoever
even mean?
talked about servant leadership?
Man.
I mean, and that's what the expectation is, and it is. It's overwhelming. Sometimes it even feels exploitive. Like, how bad does the story need to be? What struggle?
Right.
And I'm thinking, oh, I wouldn't have been able to answer that question because
Right.
I had a good,
Me neither,
I
'cause I
didn't
had
have
a
any
good one.
struggles, when I was coming through, and that's actually where we are.
Right.
Everybody wants a story. There has to be a narrative that the student has to be able to display. And I hate to think that we're at a place where that the value of a student is strongly tied to how difficult their journey might have
Yeah.
been. And not to say that students who are disadvantaged in any way don't deserve an additional opportunity, but absent a struggle or a challenge, can you ask me something else in terms of what I bring
Who I
to the
am.
table, who I am? Is that
Yeah.
not enough? So you will encounter that as you look at scholarships, and it's very weird. It's very disheartening. And sometimes we've had to, share some things that I don't think we actually would have shared, because
Right.
I mean, we're privileged. We've had advantages and access to opportunities. No, I didn't grow up rich, but we worked hard. Shouldn't that be enough?
I know, because I'm thinking like if Bailey had to write, I mean, she has written a essay, but if she had to write one that involved struggle, you mean you struggling to empty this dishwasher out Ashley empty 4 times? That's a little struggle.
That part.
That part.
We've
Right.
had to answer, struggles in terms of an educational or struggles in terms of racial inequality or profiling. There are, of course, other struggles, but
Right.
I just, question the position that has to be held in terms of you needing to have had a struggle
Right.
in order.
Right.
Now, great. Now, hear me clearly. Struggle does breed greatness.
Right.
In many instances, struggle does breed greatness. But just know that is a big consideration, a big ask. Colleges and scholarships. How well did you struggle, and what did you learn? What did you learn from the struggle? There has to be a lesson learned from the struggle. You can't just struggle. I need you to have learned the lesson. And so these are teachable moments. I guess those are prompts that they're thinking that is embedded in everybody's journey. Right. So just be prepared for it.
And the last thing that I wanted to talk about before we wrap, and Rashan, thank you for being so generous with your time. Girl, I know you got like 4,822 things to do today. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about what you talked about not being prepared. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know that I don't know if I've talked to anybody who looks like us who has been prepared. Mm. And so I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, being educated, coming from parents who were educated, gave us the privilege of education. We have this appearance of how amazing we are and what our careers have been, and the assumption that we've accumulated all this money. And again, I don't know who that's been true for. And I think we really beat ourselves up about that. And I think we do a lot of hiding because of that. And that's why we have to talk about it, because we're hiding too much.
Right. Absolutely.
And instead of just saying, I don't know what in the world I'm doing, we have not saved for it. Let's do the math. If Bailey is going to Howard, let's call it 50, 50. Mm-hmm. That would be $200,000 that y'all would have to save for one kid.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And tell me who has done that.
Right. There's some people, I'm sure, but
right.
The vast majority.
But what I'm saying is, tell me who you know, and I know.
Oh, I don't know anybody.
Me neither.
And in our process, one thing that I asked is I invited people to invest in my children's success as a community, because that's what we used to do. So as a community back in the day, that was the palm press or the $20 of, the old church mother in the church saying, hey, baby, go on out and here's a little investment in you. Perhaps we need to start rethinking how it is that we wish to support each other. Christmas, maybe it should be, here's a scholarship for being a good kid.
Wow,
Christmas, instead of the tennis shoes that you want, I'm investing in your, when you have a child from the beginning, 529s were new. When we were coming, we didn't have 529s.
Absolutely.
But even considering that as an option in the early years, yes, you'd have to check into it, because some are better, in a state if you know that your child is going to go to school in state. But making those early investments, asking uncles and aunts and extended family, instead of a gift, do you mind contributing to the 529? Some people may think that that's a little gauche, asking for, but inviting others to invest in your kids. When graduation happens, what do they send? Money.
Yeah.
That's the typical resource. So make the investment early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's no shame in it, because, like I said, we weren't ready. David and I weren't ready. Desiree was not ready. Join the club with the rest of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So now we know that. Now we got to get proactive about these kids getting their own education paid for, because you cannot go in debt behind this.
Yeah, no.
That's not your commitment.
We're not going to do. I'm not doing that. I've seen so many people struggle with the student loans and all of that, and to each his own. And I was blessed to have a swimming scholarship and a presidential scholarship because I had great grades and I was a leader and all those things that you talked about, because those things just came natural. It's what I did.
Correct.
You know, and my brother got a full football scholarship. So this was like, so all of this is new. It's so new because, you know, I was so good at so many things that I knew I was going to get a scholarship. I just knew.
Absolutely.
It's different. It's a different world now.
So the whole scholar athlete route is also a very positive one. You know, it's you had a competitive advantage. African American female and in swimming.
Yes.
That's a trifecta right there. You know, if you want to just tell the truth, you know how and Rashan, you know how many swimming scholarships are left on the table. You know, my daughter
Exactly.
was a swimmer. We're going to the Olympics. You know, I had my champagne wishes and caviar dreams. She gonna pay
Right.
for college, and it's
Right.
just like, yeah, I'm gonna do IB. I'm gonna tap out of swimming.
Right.
Oh, swimming is something that was so, listen, that is it is the hardest sport to continue to push through. I started swimming competitively at 5. I was burnt out
Oh,
at 14.
wow. There you
Picked it
go.
back up at 16.
There you
And then
go.
the FAMU coach was like, hey, we got some money. I was like, ooh, I guess I'm going to be swimming for 4 years.
Correct. And that's a
And
real
that's what
story
happened.
right there. That's real. And that's
It's
what a
very
lot of
real.
parents and students are experiencing right now. The burnout. And, you know, I have parents that will say, I tell my child nothing but A's. And that always, you know, my gut, you know, tightens because here's the thing. I know we want our children to be successful, but the amount of stress that our children are under right now, just environmentally alone, they have concerns. You know, some people say, "Oh, they're soft today." You know, well, if they're soft, you raise them, so you the soft parent.
Mhm.
We're just gonna have to call the spade a spade. But the reality is, allowing them to tell you, or you allowing them the opportunity to fail. That was one bit of advice
Huge.
that I got. You didn't allow them to fail.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, who's supposed to allow you to fail? Well, I mean, there is grace in learning how to fail. There is a muscle that is
Yes.
strengthened in your character through failure that you don't get organically other than through failure.
Yes.
So there will be some. So if there is a C, my mother used to tell me, but was it your best effort?
Yes.
If it was your best effort. See, Desiree and math don't belong in the same sentence.
Right.
Okay? Ever.
Right.
Science and math don't belong in the same sentence. I understand my lane. Those are two areas it's not. Communications, I will talk all day long. That was the gift. So you put me in the programs where I could talk. Then I go to Howard where I could talk. Then I built a career in talking. So that's the same path that I would like to encourage parents to look at. I didn't have to have an A, but later on, I didn't have to have an A in science and math to be successful. But the
Right.
success came on the back end. The
Mhm.
success came on the back end because even though I wasn't excellent in those areas, I was able to get my master's degree as health communications and MS in science. Amen. Thank you.
Come on.
You are crazy. You are crazy, Desiree.
You did it, Desiree.
I did it. I did it.
Right. You did it.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, Rashan, any last questions that we can answer for you before we go?
No. I'm grateful for the conversation and the information given. I thank you so much, and I feel literally I feel well equipped. I feel a lot more equipped than I did when the conversation started. So I appreciate it.
Best of luck to you and Bailey. And look, give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give
I am.
yourself some
I am.
grace. And we'll let you know. We're doing a part 2 where Desiree's actually going to be facilitating the vision board for the kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be really important because we want them to get, you know, that begins the process. So we'll certainly
Right.
let you know about that. And thank you for
Thank you.
No, and you know what thing I really appreciate about you? You are always transparent about who you are and where you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate that. Thank you for being transparent and spending your time with us.